Today we're going to talk about the perimeter of a semicircle and the perimeter of a quarter circle. Okay, so the first thing we have to think about is what part of a circle or what fraction of a circle is a semicircle? Well, a semicircle is 1/2 of a full circle. Looking at a quarter circle, what fraction of a circle is a quarter circle? Well, it is 1/4 of a circle. So if we're talking about finding the perimeter or the outside distance around our shape, we first have to start with the circumference of a circle. And the equation for circumference is 2 pi r, or circumference equals pi d. So that's our starting point. Once we figure out the circumference of the circle, then we can worry about figuring out the circumference of half a circle, or the perimeter of half a circle, or the perimeter of a quarter of a circle. We're calling it a perimeter because we are going to have straight edges of our shape. So I'm going to start with a semicircle, and the radius of my semicircle is 5 units. So the first step that I need to do is find the circumference. So I rewrite my circumference equation. Since I'm given radius, I'm going to use circumference equals 2 pi r. So I rewrite circumference and I plug in my numbers. Circumference equals 2 pi r, and I'm going to substitute 5 for pi. I'm going to combine my two numbers because in multiplication, I can do them in any order. 2 times 5 equals 10, 10 pi. Well, pi is 3.14. So when I multiply by 10, I move the decimal point over one spot to make a bigger number. So 31 4/10. Well, I have half a circle. So I have to take my 31 4/10 and I have to divide that by 2, or take half of it. When I divide that by 2, I'm going to end up with 15 7/10. So the 15 7/10, that just represents this arc portion of my shape. I need to add back in this solid line because right now I just have a rainbow and I have a solid shape, so I need to close it off. So I need to add back, I need to add back my diameter. That's what this is. If I know my radius is 5, then my diameter is 2 times my radius, or my diameter is 10. So I can take this semicircle arc amount of 15 7/10 and add 10 to that. And the perimeter of my semicircle is 25 7/10 units. Since we're just talking perimeter around the outside of my circle, or the outside of my shape, my units are plain old units. They're not squared, they're not cubed. So that's perimeter of a half circle or a semicircle. So now I want to talk about perimeter of a quarter circle. So I'm going to make my shape again, my quarter circle. I'm going to say my radius this time is 3. And I'm going to find the circumference of the full circle. That is my first step. Since I'm given radius, I'm going to use the equation circumference equals 2 pi r. And I'm going to rewrite it. Circumference equals 2 times pi times r. But I'm going to plug in my value of 3. I'm going to combine the 2 and the 3 because in multiplication, I can multiply in any order. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 pi equals the circumference of my full circle. When I multiply this through, circumference equals 18 and 84 hundredths. We said that a quarter circle is the same thing as 1/4 of a circle. So I have to take this number, my circumference of a full circle, and divide it by 4. When I divide it by 4, my answer is 4 and 71 hundredths. Well, 4 and 71 hundredths just represents this arc right here. I need to close my shape. So I need to add in my radius here, and I need to close in my shape by adding my radius here. So 4 and 71 hundredths plus the first radius plus the second radius. I finish adding, and I get 10 and 71 hundredths units. And that is the perimeter of my quarter circle. So when we're trying to figure out the perimeter of our half circle, our semicircle, and our quarter circle, first you have to figure out what fraction of the circle is it. Then you have to decide what circumference equation that you're going to use. You have to solve your equation and solve it. And then you have to decide, am I dividing by 2 or am I dividing by 4? So you're going to divide based on your shape. Once you divide, you just get the arc measurement, but then you have to close your shape. And you do that by adding your diameter or your radius. I'm going to abbreviate by adding your diameter or your radius amounts, okay? Those are the steps that you have to do. And if it's a quarter circle, you're adding 2 radius. Well, diameter is the same thing as 2 radii. So either way, you're going to be adding your diameter. So that is how you find the perimeter of a semicircle or a quarter circle.